Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to this licensing hearing today. There are no fire drills planned. If the fire alarm is activated, which is a continuous siren with a flashing red light, please leave the building immediately following the fire exit signs. There are no apologies for absence. The first item on the agenda is the appointment of the chairman. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Councillor Issa.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
I second that.
Thank you. If no objection.
Thank you for attending today. I think you're already aware that the people who objected are not present. So we'll hear from you. You'll have plenty of opportunity to speak, but if we could ask our officer to present. Yes. Oh, does anybody have any declarations of interest? No, there are none.
Thank you, Chair. So the purpose of today's hearing is for the Licensing Subcommittee to determine an application for a new premises licence in relation to Tesco Express 136 High Street, Sevenoaks. 2 representations in relation to this application have been received, and these representations are on pages 29 and 30 of my report. The application is for the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises Monday to Saturday from 9 AM until 11 PM. Oh, no, it's not, is it? It's not. It's for the sale of alcohol from 6 AM till midnight every day, and for late night refreshment from 11 o'clock until midnight every day. Steps the applicant intends to take to promote the 4 licensing objectives form part of their application, and these can be found on page 22 of my report. Members' attention is drawn to sections 3.6 to 3.13 of the Sevenoaks Statement of Licensing Policy, which deals with premises offering off sales of alcohol. In determining this application, the subcommittee must give appropriate weight to the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the representations presented by all parties, the Home Office guidance, the Sevenoaks District Council Statement of Licensing Policy, and any other relevant legislation. Options available to the subcommittee today are to grant the licence in the same terms as it has been applied for, to grant the licence but modify or add conditions, to grant the licence but modify the hours of licensable activity, or to reject the application. There is a right of appeal under section 181 and schedule 5 of the Licensing Act to the Magistrates Court. This right of appeal is open to both the applicant and to any person who has made relevant representation in relation to this application. Any appeal must be made within 21 days of the written notification of the subcommittee decision. And that concludes my report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Could I ask you your name so we don't just refer to you as the applicant, please?
Yeah, of course, though you may just want to refer to me as the applicant. It's Hardish Purewell. So Hardish. Yeah, that's fine.
I call you by your first name?
Yeah.
Thank you. It just sounds a little bit more friendly than saying the applicant. Are there any questions of the panel to the applicant? Or do you want the applicant to speak?
Should we let the applicants?
Would you like to speak first?
Would you like me to present my application now? Is that right? Yes? Yeah. Okay. So we're looking to open, so it's an application for a new store. So this forms a part of our smaller sites at the express format, and we're looking to open in November of this year. Tesco is a well-known brand. We've got about 3,000 shops and employ about 300,000 colleagues across the formats. So this is very much our convenience format. It's all about top-up shops, and usually if there's alcohol is linked to other products. There's a limited range in the shop, but very targeted to what the local community want. And there's a small kind of number of alcohol lines. We work really well in the area, and I head up licensing for Tesco, so I don't tend to, even when we had our old shop here, there were never any issues. And I've been doing licensing since the Act change, since 2005. So this is, you know, it's an area that I don't tend to get involved in. The store will have about 20 colleagues in the store, as well as a store manager, and the number will be dependent on part-time and full-time people. There'll be roles for people in the community, so they will be from the local community, and recruitment starts about 4 weeks before the store is due to open. We pride ourselves on being a good neighbour, and we've got a good neighbour ethos policy. And in essence, what that means is if there are any issues, we want to nip them in the bud very early on. So we want to have that relationship with the local community. So if there are any residents groups or shop watch or anything like that, we will be a part of that. There's, as you're aware, no issues have been raised by the police or any of the responsible authorities. From a national point, I also chair a retail alcohol standards group, which looks at how we sell alcohol as an industry to make sure that we are all selling with the best standards possible, and bringing up smaller, that includes the Association of Convenience Stores. So smaller shops, we're looking to kind of bring them up to a similar standard. We're also involved, and actually Kent is heavily involved in community alcohol partnerships as well, which looks at underage drinking and giving diversionary activities to young people that are, you know, moving them away from drinking and actually giving them everything from, could be football to, you know, mocktails, discos. So we're kind of taking them off the streets and moving them onto other areas. Work really closely with the Portman Group and Drink Aware, and also with the Home Office and Department of Health. We also have a primary authority relationship that looks over all of our processes so that we are happy. So the business always come to me with lovely, weird and wonderful of ideas, and we did something recently in Milton Keynes, which was a robot delivering products to people's homes. And again, we go through our primary authority to test these things to see if they will work. In terms of training, our training is what the BII, so the British Institute of Innkeepers, has considered of what good looks like, and so that includes age-restricted sales training before anybody starts on the shop floor, and then refresher training is completed twice a year. As well as that, we also have security training, which is looking out for people in the store who may not want to pay for goods, but actually deterring them rather than in a kind of customer-friendly way. We operate Think 25 as you would expect us to. And we only accept approved ID as well. Within the training, there's also how to challenge somebody that's drunk, so that we're not selling alcohol to somebody who's already intoxicated, and always pass it on to a manager if things are kind of getting a little bit difficult. Within the training, we also look out for proxy sales. So this is where somebody under 18 has asked somebody over 18 to buy alcohol on their behalf. So we're IDing everybody in the group, not just the person who's buying, but also looking at what's going on outside of our store as well, in case young people are outside trying to hand money over. Most importantly, we empower our team to make the right decisions. So if they ask somebody for ID and it gets challenged, our managers won't override them because it makes them lose confidence. So it's a policy called "You say no, we say no," and it might be that the individual person needs a bit more training in identifying age, but we won't undermine their confidence. When alcohol is scanned, there's a checkout prompt that appears, and that has the date of birth on there that's required for you to buy that product, because it's not just alcohol, there's other products as well. And also it reminds you to think 25 as well. So, and then there's a positive action. So you either have to press yes or no if you're not going to make that sale. We, in terms of security, our cameras are linked up to what we call the hub, which is a central warehouse in Northamptonshire, and that's connected to every single store. and they are able to provide the police with CCTV and statement packs. So it's and that gets uploaded up in some way, and that provides the police with all the information they need. So they don't even need to go into stores when there's evidence required. We have panic alarms in the store. All our high item products are tagged. Our teams have body cams, and also spirits are kept behind the counter. The team will also be wearing headsets so they can communicate very easily to each other. Central teams, there's a licensing team and a business support team that the store, if they need that help, they would come to me and my team if they need any help around licensing. I guess in terms of pricing, everything is nationally set. There are no local promotions. Sometimes you may get a yellow sticker where we're trying to get rid of a range from a particular store, but that'll be it. Everything else is kind of nationally set. And even some of those local, where we're trying to get rid of wines, for example, those prices kind of come down nationally. The late night refreshment is for a Costa coffee machine, and there's if we paid at the machine, you don't need a license for that, but because money is all taken behind our cash desk, we need a license because we're serving hot food. It's a shame the objectors aren't here, because it's always an opportunity to kind of just talk to them about some of the the concerns that they have and some of the fears that they have. But I'm hoping that once the store manager is appointed, and perhaps we can get in touch through you guys to the residents, then we can touch base. And if they have got any concerns, the easiest way is to speak to the store manager, and we want to resolve them, because we intend being here for a while, for a long time. So we need to have that good relationship with our local community. So some of the concerns that have been raised around the licensing issues. So for example, like litter, we'll have a litter bin which we are responsible for emptying, as long as the relevant permissions are there, because in some areas we're not allowed to have a litter bin outside, but generally it's just part of our standard process, and we empty those, and that rubbish goes back onto our own trucks when they come and take the cages away. In terms of nuisance and some of the comments that have been made, my experience is that we don't tend to get this kind of behaviour, but that's not to say that it may not happen. And if we see some of this behaviour, we'll stop that, and we'll work with the community and other shop owners in the street to make sure that we're not getting that bad behaviour. I guess there's nothing in your statement of licensing policy. I think we kind of meet all of the points that are kind of raised, that Lindsay's raised around the DPS. We do tend to only have what the DPS based at the store. They wouldn't be in charge of multiple shops. They do tend to be based at the store, and around the alcohol kind of an opening time. So we have a DPS on site, and they only look after one store. I am open to kind of any questions if you have any. Hopefully I've covered a lot of stuff, but I might have missed something.
Can I start by saying that was very impressive, and well, you've taken the air out of me, because I think you have covered so many things and in such a nice manner. I'd also like to say we're very, very pleased Tesco's coming back and on that site, and we welcome it. And what this council does is it encourages business. We're not looking to put impediments in the way. It is a pity that the two objectors are not here. It would have been nice for them to have had a chance. But if we look through we've looked through the old paperwork, and there is nothing that there was an area of concern when you used to be there on the same site. So I open that to my fellow councillors. Is there any particular questions you'd like to ask?
I did have a few, but you answered all of them in your. So thank you. Yeah, it was. I ditto you. Yes, yeah. So everything that I think that I needed to know, you've actually, because I've challenge 25. You've covered that. Security. You've covered that. So yes, no, I've got no questions at all. Thank you.
Councillor Haslam?
I do have a couple of questions. I just want to clarify something in that interesting, you said that the refreshment, like late night refreshment, is solely for the Costa coffee machine, which assuming is just tea, coffee and hot drinks. And there's no food from that. Because I think that was one of the objections from from what I read from the the letters of wastage and stuff like that, where it's cups which hopefully people will dispose of appropriately. The other question that I have is, and in this instance, and I don't mean to speak out of turn here, in that I was a little, when I read the paperwork, I was a little surprised you're opening 6 till midnight rather than 7 till 11, because if I look at the Southborough Tesco Express there, that opens 7 to, I think it's 6, is it 6 or I had it earlier, I can't remember, it's 7 to 11, like some of the other convenience stores. And at the Seven High Street isn't necessarily a thriving hub during the early morning and very late at night. So I was just a little bit surprised at that, and I think that maybe that's where because there's an hour's misalignment, that some of our residents may have had concerns. I don't know if you want to address that.
So the current planning that we have is actually 7 till 11, but so to some extent it doesn't matter what our license I would get, because we can only at the moment open 7 till 11. I guess in the future, if we want to, I don't know if the football, usually our customers will start saying, oh, we need you a bit earlier or later. That's what normally drives us then kind of looking to change any planning thing. But at the moment, we would only be able to open 7 till 11 anyway, because they're the planning restrictions that we have.
And then really another question on that is that if you've got people driving to you, I don't understand why people would drive into the town when they can drive to the Tesco Superstore and park within a car park, and it's got a much larger range. But if you could, I'm not I am not qualified to observe on all of the builders' habits. And
It's the trade varies, and this is very much kind of a on foot shop, because there is no parking for Tesco. So we often have neighbourhood stores that have parking, but this shop doesn't have any parking. So it is very much kind of on the go, and for local people as well. So it's I guess the problem may occur if people start parking on the double yellow lines, and what our store manager will do is actually stop people from doing that. So if we see that habit starting to build, because it's a very tight, it's not a wide road, but I guess that all of that it becomes a kind of a highways issue and more of a planning issue. But just generally, we would stop people from parking on kind of double yellow lines and discourage it. So if people are doing that, we'd ask them to move their cars or vans.
One more observation on that, in that you only have WO lines on one side of the road. On the other side of the road, you have paid for parking, which during the hours of 6 to 7 or 6 to 8 probably, until the shops open, and later on in the evening, post 10:30, there probably will be parking spaces.
Yeah, sorry, that's my mistake. I thought there was parking, double yellow lines both sides, but you're actually right, one side you can. So I guess that's where they would end up parking and then running across the road.
Just one comment from me. It was very interesting to hear about initiatives to look after people who are just loitering and have nothing better to do, and the fact that you said you check the age of everybody in a party. So I'm very pleased to hear that. I don't actually have any objections at all. I'm very, very pleased Tesco's coming back. And you've just stated the one thing that would have been discussed, which is you're going to be open from 7 till 11. So you can't really serve alcohol outside those timings. So we need to adjourn, and we will come back to you unless you have anything you want to ask us.
No, I guess just in closing, it would the only comments that I was going to say that I hope I've been able to show that we're an excellent operator. Great, great examples of like partnership working, and we've got policies and practices in place that will uphold the licensing objectives. And thank you for hearing the application.
I'd like to start by thanking you for your very carefully thought out and very professional presentation to us. You covered absolutely everything. I'm particularly delighted that you're responsible for your own litter and that you, if there should be a problem, that you will deal with it. I have a short statement to read out. Phil, may I read it? Having had regard to the representations made by the applicant, the interested party, and the local planning authority as a responsible authority, the Licensing Act 2003, Secretary of State's amended guidance issued used Section 182 of the Act and the Council's Statement of Licensing Policy. The subcommittee grants the application as applied for. We note that the Council's Statement of Licensing Policy expects that applications be proved as applied for, unless or until it is evidenced that a site becomes a focus of disorder or disturbance or other nuisance. The concerns raised are of a general nature at this point. We note the assurances given by the applicant today, which we hope will provide comfort to residents. Further, this subcommittee cannot consider whether there is a need for licensable activities. That is a matter for the applicant and for the market to decide. On that basis, we approve the application. However, we do remind residents that this is not the only opportunity to raise concerns. If indeed this premises does become the cause or a focus point for nuisance and noise, then you may consider bringing a review of the license in the future. The Council's licensing team are happy to try and guide residents who do have concerns. I'd also like to say that this is being live streamed. I understand there's nobody online at the moment, but it will be available on YouTube for 6 months if anybody wishes to see what we've determined and why. And I'd like to thank you for coming today. Thank you very much.